I am going to invoke moderator's privilege here because I have some very special guests, and so I would like to, but they all have school in the morning, and so I...
Tom, somebody has to leave. I think you should maybe...
wait, hold on, let's see if you win. Hold on, hold on.
You're going to do your stuff just in case you go to...
As our guest of honor, why don't you pull a ticket here?
Her number is 362.
I got it. Could you read it?
I can. What's your number? 3. What is it?
4408.
That's it. You win. There you go. It's amazing how things work out sometimes, isn't it?
You got the touch.
I would have got those numbers all backwards.
So a man suffered a heart attack and had open heart surgery. He awakened to find himself in the care of nuns at a Catholic hospital. As he recovered, one of the nuns asked him about how he was going to pay for his treatment. "Sir, do you have health insurance?" And he replied in a raspy voice, "No health insurance." Do you have money in the bank, sir?" No money in the bank." Do you have a relative who might be able to help you out with this bill?" And the man thought, and he said, "I have a spinster sister who's a nun." This, of course, really irritated the nun. She did not like to be called a spinster, and she said so. She said, "Nuns are not spinsters, sir." Very perturbed. "Nuns are married to God." "Oh," the patient replied, "then send the bill to my brother-in-law." Come on, that's a good one. So I have special guests here tonight, and they have to go to school in the morning, so I'm going to invoke moderator's privilege. I'd like to, my name is Tom Hernandez, and I'm from Joliet, east side of Joliet boy, and I now live in Plainfield. I, like everybody in the room, am a writer and a communications professional, public speaker, performer. I've published several books of essays and poetry and short fiction, and my first fiction novel came out last year. One of my books is called Chocolate Cows and Purple Cheese, and it's a collection of essays about kind of being a young dad, a young father, a young husband, young man. In that book, I wrote a story about my nephew, Alex, who at that time was about this big and had a head about this big. Alex is now back here. Alex, stand up, please. He's that big. Yes. And he just turned 15, and he's actually driving, so stay off the road, or at least let him have a head start. Okay? And so I want to read this so that they can get on their way. And then, of course, there's also my nephew and godson, Aiden Thomas. Hi, buddy. He's got typhoid, so you want to stay away from him, too. And my chatty little niece, Elise, who is just the most beautiful little thing. And their mom, Kari, who's my wonderful sister-in-law. And so thank you guys for coming out. So let me read this story about one of my adventures with Alex. This is called Unca Tom, What Dat? I should have seen it coming. I should have noticed the pattern, the rapid-fire accumulation of seemingly simple questions. But my nephew is so darn cute that I was temporarily drawn off guard. Unca Tom, each query, and there seemed to be hundreds that day, began with this. Unca Tom, what dat? Now his chubby finger pointed innocently to a bag of dry mustard on my chef wife's work table. Mustard, I said. Unca Tom, what dat? It's another bag of spice. Pepper, I said. Unca Tom, what dat? Well, that's a second variety of pepper. Unca Tom, what dat? Garlic. And then the walls came tumbling down. He paused for a second, drawing adequate breath to perform his coup de grace. Pointing to a plastic baggie holding about 50 packets of vegetable and flower seeds, he looked at me, a sweet smile disguising his malevolent plan. He was subtle and clean like a stiletto-wielding professional assassin. Now, I know he's only 3, but I swear he knew just what he was doing. Unca Tom, what dat? Seeds, I said, thinking that my umbrella answer would suffice. Such arrogance fathers many a fool. Alex began pointing to every single packet, repeating the same inquiry for each one. Finally, after identifying about a dozen packets, teetering dangerously between exhaustion and exasperation, I shouted, "They're all seeds!" But he wasn't quite finished. He looked at me, square in the eyes, and hit me with one more verbal volley. Unca Tom, what? Unca Tom, why? I felt like I was in one of those Salvador Dali paintings where my head was melting in my hands. I mentally retreated, and I reminded myself that Alex is a toddler. Toddlers are naturally and boundlessly inquisitive. Like dogs, they don't understand finite concepts like time and space or Uncle Tom's patience. Remember, too, I thought, that this task of keeping Alex occupied was fair trade for my brother, his dad, helping me put in a new bathroom floor. A chore that I had been strategically avoiding since I tore up the tile 2 years ago to check for a leak. 2 years. My wife finally insisted that it be fixed. She bribed me with breakfast, then dragged me to Menards to, surprise, buy new tile. The next thing I knew, my brother was calling me at work to offer to help with any home chores that I might have to do. A mere coincidence, he insisted. The only thing was, he'd have to bring his son since my sister-in-law also had to work. Now listen, I love Alex. I love all of my nieces and nephews, but he's a breed apart. Alex is a nice mixture of his parents physically, and yet when it comes to his personality, he is an exact replica of his dad. He's an evil genius. Exceptionally bright, curious, funny, naturally talented, creative, clever, often to the point of hair-pulling vexation. And it's only gotten worse in the teenage years, thank you very much. My brother Paul, and probably his son down the line, is like the stock comic book character. Think of Lex Luthor, who could use his brilliant mind for good or evil, but he chooses evil because, you know, it's more fun. Of course, Paul hasn't done anything evil, but I do believe that he is a genius. He is intellectually as sharp as 1,000 Ginsu knives, so just give him time. Now, to fill the time, Alex and I went for a walk. We watched Scooby-Doo cartoons until I remembered why I stopped watching Scooby-Doo cartoons. They all seem to end the same way. We cleaned up the dog poop in the backyard. Well, I cleaned the dog poop, and Alex chased the balloons around the yard until they popped against the rose bushes. We played with our Shih Tzu, Ozzy, to whom Alex is fascinated because he's the smallest dog he's ever seen. All the while, Alex continued his personal Spanish Inquisition of me, asking about everything in his seemingly limitless view. Finally, thank God, he fell asleep. I muttered a quick, sincere prayer of gratitude. Then I insisted that my brother let me help with my own project. He insisted harder that I was doing more than my share by taking care of Alex. Sibling sympathy, prideful workmanship, control, freakish domination? Who knows? Who cares? I was worn out, bushed, beat. Anyway, we spent 2 whole weekend days at this. Paul putting in my floor, not letting me do anything, insisting that it was more helpful for me to watch Alex. And in the end, we had a great time. We joked, we talked, we laughed, we shared lunch and dinner with our families, and I connected more with my nephew. Beyond merely laying tile, we were building family. Meanwhile, my brother did a terrific job on the floor, and he has already made plans to remodel the rest of my bathroom, despite my lack of interest, my funding, or my ability to assist. But he was adamant he'd do it, he'd even pay for it. I'm pretty sure that what he really wants is another break from daddy duty. Now, he is my brother, so I will be happy to oblige, Plus, you know, I'll get a new bathroom out of the deal. If I survive Alex, that is. Thank you. Because I love him so much, 2 years ago, I actually surprised him on his birthday in his classroom and read that story in front of his friends. Because, you know, you have to kind of do that sometimes to adolescents. Yeah. Watched him turn 18 shades of purple. You know, it was great.